welcome back. It's a Friday night here in Japan. I'm pretty wiped out from work, so sorry if I seem a little tired, but I came home today and saw a package on my doorstep. Now, if anyone is a fan or watches the great BookTube channel run by Jules, they will have noticed that he, this year, especially in the last kind of couple of months of this year, has scored some big penguin hauls, vintage penguin paperback hauls. He had one that was a huge green penguin haul, and green penguins, for those that aren't so familiar with the color coding for classic penguins, there is the orange general fiction color coding. There's the green mystery and crime fiction coding. I think the yellow is it history or nonfiction maybe. There's gray ones. I can't keep all of them straight. White ones. There's many other different varieties, and Jules has covered all of them on his great channel. And Jules happens to be not only a big collector of all kinds of paperbacks, books in general and related ephemera, but especially vintage penguin paperbacks. And he got a big batch of Penguin Crime, the green ones, and then he got a big batch of general, all kinds of penguins, vintage penguin paperbacks, pre-ISBN, so the first 3,000, the ones that were numbered. He got a whole ton of them in a barn find. They were put in a barn for storage for several years somewhere where, and Jules has several videos, I believe 3, going through those, where he talks even to the owner in the last one. All great videos, highly recommend checking those out. Now, I've bought a few penguins from Jules before, but a very small batch. But this batch, it's a pretty big size. Now, Jules and I had been talking, and I admit, he knows I'm interested in the Penguin Cerise Travel and Adventure vintage penguin books. So when you see the Cerise, which I guess is the fancy name for a kind of bright pink, neon sort of pink. Besides those 4 Ellery Queen green vintage penguins, Jules had also said, because it was one of the few he had at that time of an extra, this penguin, The Sea in the Jungle by H.M. Tomlinson. Now this is the Cerise Travel and Adventure Penguins, and you'll see it says on the side there, Travel and Adventure, and the very nice and distinctive penguin livery. Now there's no real illustrations or anything on the cover, which is part of the fun of collecting a lot of vintage paperbacks, but there's something about these penguins. They just feel good in the hand. They open very easily. A lot of British paperbacks do this. They're very well bound, and obviously they can last a very long time, because this one, this penguin, it's a reprint. It was published first in 1912, but it was published, this version is from 1953. So, we're talking over 70 years old, this book, right? Or about 68 years or so, almost 70 years old. And it's still in pretty damn good shape. So I had one of these from Jules, and I really wanted some more. And Jules happened to come into a bunch of extras, and especially when I told him I didn't need first editions. I know a lot of penguin collectors are looking for first editions. I don't really care about that. I think it's great if you do, but I just want a book to read. And I like the content of these, kind of old travel and adventure books where they talk about doing some really, crazy expedition somewhere in Greenland or Africa, or in some of the cases, as I'll show you in this batch that I got, talking about escaping from prison camps, POW camps in World War I, etc. So I sent Jules a list of, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and Jules wrote back and said, well, I'll get some of those later for you, but there's a whole bunch of the earlier ones that are travel and adventure that maybe aren't on your list. Are you interested in these? And he made me an excellent deal, very affordable. I highly recommend, if you are interested in vintage penguins or some other books that Jules might have shown off as extras or mentioned in his videos, feel free to contact him. He's a great guy to deal with. He's very reasonable, very professional, and very nice guy, and he'll probably do you a nice deal. And that's what he did with me. So I have a whole bunch of books. I hope to be getting some more of the actual list I sent him down the road. I think he's got a lot of work ahead of him to go through these thousands of penguins, and some of these he'll get to me perhaps a couple months down the road. Hope there'll be another haul. But in the meantime, it's time to do an unboxing. And looks like, as usual, Jules did a very good job wrapping this sucker up. So let me pull out my handy katana, my handy samurai mail letter opener, and very carefully, so I don't damage any books in here. And knowing Jules, he probably has wrapped these pretty carefully, but I just don't want to either slit my own wrist by accident or damage the books. Yeah, it looks like he's got some cardboard or something to protect. This sucker is pretty sharp, so I gotta be a little careful with it. Not quite as sharp as an actual katana, but okay. We'll sheath this sucker so I don't end up hurting anybody, including myself. Okay. Got a nice box here. Now, not only do I have Travel and Adventure Penguins from Jules, but Jules very kindly, he had a whole bunch of kind of extra readers' copies, maybe not in the world's best condition for sale or anything, but freebies of the Penguin crime books. And I said, I'd like that one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and he was very graciously packed those in here too. So I'm going to put those to the side for now. I have a bunch of them here, which I'll look at in a moment, and go through in a moment. And as usual, he sends some cool cards, and he sent me a whole bunch of cool cards, including this one. Tom Adams, artist. Now, Jules did several videos showing his assisting Tom's Adams' widow. Tom passed away a little while ago. I can't remember exactly when, but not so long ago. And Jules is assisting his widow with, getting together some of his own personal copies of his, Agatha Christie books that he did the cover paintings for, and did some videos about those, and is trying to help her sell those at auction, etc. So he had this cool card made up, and on the back it says, "Many thanks, Jeff. Enjoy the books, my friend Jules." Very nice. So thank you, Jules. He also sent me some other cool cards. Collections and unboxings. Jules Burt. That looks like some cool Valentine books. Some kind of cool art from there. Thanks for that. Here's another cool one he has. How do we survive YouTube without him? Collections and unboxings. The year's most original story of suspense. That's very clever. Kind of doing some graphic design to add his information in there off of that book cover. I don't know what that's from. Not a reprint, of course. I don't recognize this cover, but it's probably from some cool end-of-the-world sci-fi thing. Jules can set me straight in the comments there. The Weird Shadow Over Yourself by Jules Burt and Other Stories of the Supernatural. A Bart House mystery. He's having fun with these cards that he's printing here. Very cool. And a very nice bookmark. Pan Books. Look at that with the little pan, like the god Pan. Little fawn there. Pick of the Paperbacks. And on the other side, Jules Burt Collections on Unboxing with the penguin on the side there. Very cool. And a very nice card. Look at this. Is this guy professional or what? Look at that. And he's looking very debonair and ready for poking into some mystery there on that that photo on the back of that card. That's very cool. And we got one more here. We got a very cool Penguin Collectors Society bookmark. And it's got all these, you know, the Penguin also put out Puffin books for kids, Puffin story books, I believe they're called, and there's for the younger readers, Puffin picture books, etc. Very, very cool. All right, so I have, I believe, 7 crime books, which I will go through at the end. And then we have, let's see how we're going to do this. I haven't actually done an unboxing video before, so please bear with me. Okay, I could take time to put these in order. They have the numbers on the spine for the most part here, but I'm not going to go in order, I don't think. I'll just grab them out of the box, okay? So we have a whole bunch of cool Penguin Travel and Adventure, the Cerise ones. There's a ton of books in here, so I believe 24 travel and adventure to add on to my one that I already had, so that makes 25 that I'll have. A lot of happy reading ahead. All right, well, let's get started. Here's one of the ones that's quite famous, I believe, and one of Jules's favorite, The Escaping Club by A.J. Evans. And this is a little fairly thin one, and The Escaping Club is, as far as I'm aware, the various stories about POWs, British POWs, or at least Allied POWs during World War I, and their various escapades escaping from concentration camps. And here on the back we have Pear's Jif Shaving Stick, no relation to Jif peanut butter in the States. And again, you know, very readable and fun condition copy there, I think. And little inside we have a little picture of A.J. Evans, the author. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these right now. I'll go through it as I read them in the future. I'll try to profile them in more detail. But this one was first published in 1921, so a few years after World War I. And then Penguin Books' first edition was May 1939, and this is reprinted, the third reprint from 1940. So very nice. And then I have, again, these won't be in numerical order. Sorry, I'll just grab them out of here. With Mystics and Magicians in Tibet by Alexander David Neal. This is a 1937 edition, reprinted September. This is the 4th reprinting, but it says I believe that's 37 or is that 50? I can't read very well, sorry. It's very small print. Looks like a 37 to me. So that's a pretty old book, and it's in pretty damn good nick, I have to say, okay? So I guess this is just someone's, I've read about some of these when I was researching the titles I wanted, and basically Jules got me whatever extra reprints he had from the first 1,000, I believe. This one is Penguin 68. Very nice, okay? Here, let's put these down there. All right, and then we have, again, these are not in order. This is a pretty early one. This is 66, The Surgeon's Log. It's got a little kind of foxing on the front, but, you know, again, this is, I believe, about a naval surgeon. It's a kind of diary or his experiences on a ship, British ship. So I really wanted this one, and again, it's got a cool dental toothpaste, dental cream. Kolynos Dental Cream on the back. Spotlight on charm. Anyway, as you can see, there's it's a little faded on the outskirts of the pages there, but still very readable, still in very good binding. These books, these Penguin paperbacks are so tough. They just last and last and last, it seems like. Okay, what else? Ooh, I was excited about this one. My South Sea Island by Eric Muspratt. Now, did I say the author of the last one? Sorry. James Johnston Abraham was the author of The Surgeon's Log. And Eric Muspratt wrote a couple of Penguin Travel and Adventure books, as far as I'm aware. And again, this is like it sounds. You get the little penguin on the inside. Now, a little bit weak on the bottom there, the bounding a little bit. And of course, the spine is a little dinged up. This is 67, sorry. So I have 66, 67, 68. They were all in Surgeon's Log 66 and My South Sea Island 67. And with Mystics and Magicians in Tibet 68. So those three all go in order. That's nice. Okay, then we have Within Four Walls, a classic of escape. Again, that one's got some still pretty decent color on it for the Cerise. Major MCC Harrison and Captain H.A. Cartwright. It's a pretty slim volume. This might be one of the wartime Penguins, I'm not sure, or at least a reprint, but it's thinner paper. It's got some illustrations in it too, it looks like. But compared to the usual Penguin, the paper is pretty thin. So from what I remember of watching Jules' videos on Penguins, the wartime, there was a paper shortage during the war, of course, and so they were printed on, much thinner paper. Here's some illustrations about some keys that they made, maybe to escape. Here we go. Here's some, soldiers, enemy soldiers, perhaps. I did not notice the commandant. That looks very cool. So talking about, they have a list of illustrations here. So obviously quite a few illustrations in there as well. That's cool. Illustrated by H.A. Cartwright. So one of the writers did the illustrations too. That's very cool. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that one. That one is Penguin number 281, which kind of more jibes with the wartime Penguin possibility there. Again, these numbers will be all out of order. I'm taking them right out of the box, so I didn't have time to organize them as I often do. Now this one has a little rough binding on it, but the cover is, a little faded, but not bad. The color is good on it. This is Anson's Voyage Round the World, edited by S.W.C. Pack. So if this is edited, this is the account of Lord Anson's voyage round the world, written by his chaplain Richard Walter, and it's one of England's classics of the sea. It is based on Anson's own private papers and may be considered, as to all intents and purposes, the Commodore's own work. Pretty cool. So, sea story, and there is the editor, S.W.C. Pack. This one has some slightly different font than the usual Penguins. That's interesting. This is 607, so it's later in the run. And that looks very cool too. Okay. Ooh, this one looks in decent shape. The Valley of... it's got a little scratch on the front that someone kind of put some glue or tape over, but it's not bad. The Valley of the Assassins by Freya Stark. That's Miss Stark on the back there. Little bio about Freya Stark. And this was two, I don't know that if it's 2 shillings 6 pence or 2 whatever it is, but it's got the 2 6 on the front, the original price. This is Penguin 878. So the Valley of the Assassins and Other Persian Travels. So this is about Miss Stark's travels in Persia. And this one is in pretty good nick on the inside. I'm looking forward to that. Read that. I have a thing for these older travel and adventure books that are usually written at a pretty high level. I'm sure some of them might be dry, but Penguin were usually pretty choosy and picked good authors. And, when they were traveling to these places, it was much less frequent for, non-natives of the area to go there compared to what it is today. So the adventure level is at a real high stakes quite often. The House of Exile, Nora Walm. Again, this one's in pretty nice shape. We have another Pears GIF advertisement on the back. And this one is 168, so this is a pretty early one. Again, the paper is a little thin on this, so this might be a wartime one. This is one of those rare and gratifying books which afford positive evidence of an individual of one race having taken Pains to learn and appreciate the life of people of another race. The Sunday Review. I believe, if I remember right, this might be a woman who stayed with a family in China, but I haven't done research right at the moment on these different titles, just unboxing them for now. When I get around to reading and discussing these on the channel, hopefully at least some of them I'll get to in the coming months, then I will talk in more detail and hopefully with a bit more knowledge about them. The Secret of the Sahara Kufara by Rosita Forbes. And this one is number 113, Penguin 113, okay? And this one is in nice shape. I like this one. This one's in good shape. It's another one that has the back, the listing of penguins at the time. And this was published in 1937, second printing October 1937. So the second, 1 month later. So this is the second printing. So this is pretty early on. Again, 1937, what's that? 63, 88 years ago. 88-year-old book, seemingly. That's pretty damn impressive that it's in that good a shape. I mean, it could be the reprint that I'm not aware of, and from what I can tell, though, that's the when it was printed. So, you know, it's in good nick for that old of a book, right? Okay, I have some other stacks in here. Pardon me while I try to get these out. I'm taking a long time on this, I'm sorry, but I don't get to do this kind of thing very often. It's a kind of book haul, although it's a haul that I kind of placed with Jules, and he threw a bunch of things in there that I wasn't expecting and stuff, so that's quite cool. But this is a thin sucker. Look at that. This must be one of the wartime ones with really thin paper. This is a South Sea Diary by S.W. Powell, and this was definitely on the list that I wanted. Unfortunately, it's got this little Save the Children sticker on there, but no way am I going to try to take that off. That would just take the whole cover off, so that's fine. And again, wow, very thin paper, okay? Because it's not that, it's short, but it's not super short. It's 143 pages or so. And what are we looking at? Yeah, this Penguin number 492. That's right. And this was first published 1942, published in Penguin Books 1945. So towards the end of World War II, and therefore during the paper rationing, paper shortage. Very cool. That's a very interesting, someone living on a South Sea island. So I'm quite interested in reading that one. That might be one of the earlier ones I read. The South Seasman. Again, are you noticing a theme? Some of the travel and adventure books, some of them anyway, that I'm particularly interested in are set in the South Seas or set at sea. That kind of stuff, you know, tropical island adventure and travel is really high on my list of interests. The South Seaman by Weston Martyr. Weston Martyr, and this is Penguin number 236. And this is the good old thicker Penguin. This must have come out either before or after World War II when they weren't rationing. It's got a little, like someone was going tick, tick, tick with bird pecking on it, or people poking into it with a little knife or a pencil or something. There's no real markings, just kind of little indentations, but they fade away after a while. No problem there. Very readable copy. And hold on, what we got for published by Penguin Books 1939, so maybe right before the rationing of paper kicked in. It's got a little, slight tear on the bottom there, but not bad. Okay, that looks interesting. What else do we got here? Again, sorry about the order being out. Siren Land by Norman Douglas, and you can see a little warping on the front there, but again, Jules gave these to me for like pennies on the dollar. Very, very cheap. Not pennies, obviously, but, very, very reasonable price. And if you contact him, I'm sure, and are polite, I'm sure you'll be able to get a very fair deal from him as well. Ooh, cool. This one has a map in it. I always like a map. Siren Land. Okay, and this one published, and the first time in Penguin Books, 1948. So this is post-war. And it's got a little you know, little warping, etc. overall, but perfectly readable. Looking forward to checking that one out. Oh, we got a thick one. This is a double, Penguin double. I know they have these in, I believe, number 99 and number 100 are in their own separate editions, but this is just called number 100, probably a reprint, putting them together. And as you can see, it's much, much thicker than the average Penguin because it's a double. The Worst Journey in the World by Apsley Cherry Gerard. And this is about one of the members of, this is about a Antarctic expedition, I believe, to the South Pole. Yeah, Penguin number 100. This one is a classic that's been reprinted many times, including in Penguin. It's got a preface to the second English edition. So first published in 1922, and then appeared in Penguin many times. This is the double volume in Penguin Books, 1948. So it's still, you know, 52, 77-year-old book, right? So in nice shape, that one. This is one that I was looking forward to. It's got someone, looks like a Commodore or Commander or Captain signed it on the top up here, but Amateur Adventure by Gander Dower. I believe this is someone who is doing some early flights with airplanes. For those that like this sort of thing, there's some kind of, looks like a poem in the front. And this one looks like 3rd edition, reprinted in December 1939. Originally first published in 1934, published in Penguin Books, April 1939, reprinted December 1939. So the second printing from Penguin. Again, a very old book, right? And this one looks cool. It's got some, some photos of the planes. Sandstorm at Mursa Matra. Okay. It's got a few of those kinds of illustrations. We all go modest. Interesting. That should be fun. It's just really cool old books. You know, you got like old books. Ooh, another wartime one seems really thin, and it's also got some bigger print than the normal Penguin. This is The Flight of the Fire Crest by Alain Gerbault. Must have been a French writer. It's got a mystery and crime, Penguin Books Vintage Murder advertisement on the back. And this one is only 128 pages. This is a first-hand account of a solitary cruise of 101 days from the Mediterranean east to west across the Atlantic to New York in the Firecrest, a little English cutter, 39 feet overall. Okay, so this is a sailing adventure. Sweet. Okay. So his kind of memoir of sailing across the Atlantic, seems like. Very cool. Oh, and sorry, and that one is Penguin. Boy, I don't know if I can even read which number Penguin this is. But this was this reprinted version is from 1940, but it was first published by Penguin in January 1939. So this is the 3rd printing. It's a little dark in here. I'm filming at night. I don't usually do that, and my eyes are not great at night, especially after a full day of teaching and looking at computer screens and such. Here's another. Look at that. Look at that delicate, thin version with the thin paper. And this one is not, overly short. You can definitely tell on the covers. This one is 158 pages with an index 159. Look at that. The cover is the same thickness almost as the paper, barely thicker. Juju, maybe not the greatest title these days. Juju and Justice in Nigeria. I believe this is about Frank Hives and Gascoigne Lumley. This is maybe about a magistrate's experiences in Nigeria a long time ago. And we have an ad on the back for Norvik shoes. That's kind of cool. Almost gives me a feeling of like an old pulp, like you see those Weird Tales or other pulps with all sorts of strange advertisements. I guess they were doing the same there. Wow, those thin ones are really interesting. Pearls and Men by Louis Kornitzer. I believe this one is his account of running a pearl farm with a local friend somewhere in Micronesia or around Tahiti or whatever. This one is in pretty good nick. This is Penguin number 541. It's got a little fading on the spine there, but and that's Mr. Kornitzer on the back. Doesn't look like an adventurous sort of fellow, but he might be, talking about what he did when he was younger. Louis Kornitzer has lived almost all of his days with pearls. His Trade Winds, the title of his first of another book, recording his adventures in search of pearls in the Far East, has already appeared as a Penguin book, number 347. Pearls and Men tells of his early life and how, as a child, pearls were his toys, of the world's pearling grounds and the men who live in them, of strange pearl dealers, honest and dishonest, white and yellow and black, of how pearls are weighed and measured, bought and sold. So hopefully there's some good adventure in there. This is travel and adventure, of course. Some Experiences of a New Guinea Magistrate. Now, not the kind of title that rolls off the tongue. This is C.A.W. Moncton. And Some Experiences of New Guinea Resident Magistrate, first series, Captain C.A.W. Moncton. And this one is in pretty fine shape, actually. What is this? It's been published many times. So, first published in 1920, looks like, and this is the 1937 edition. Several reprintings, maybe 8th reprinting. But look at that, pretty good shape for such an old book. Maybe not one of the more popular Cerise Travel Penguins with that title. I don't know. That might account for being in such good shape. Who knows? And here's the second one. Some Experiences of a New Guinea Resident Magistrate 2. So he probably has some interesting stories of being working in New Guinea back in the day. And so those were, it must have been in order. Penguin, 69 and Penguin 70. So those are pretty early ones and in really good shape. So I'll put those next to those earlier ones I showed that were in the late 60s. Undertones of War by Edmund Blunden. And this is Penguin 83. This also been reprinted many times. Looks like about the 10th printing. Originally first published November 1928. And this is second impression, June 1937. But so this is been reprinted several times. But again, a nice shape for an older book. Okay. Just a couple more here, folks. Now this one, since I live in Japan, should be especially interesting. Traveler from Tokyo by John Morris. And again, I've not read any of these travel and adventure books. So it's very exciting to get these and have a stack to read. And this one has a little bit of a marking of 10p up in the corner there. But it's in pencil. It's probably not worth worrying, trying to get rid of it. This was published by Penguin Books, 1946. So maybe the original one. Again, a little bit browned on the edges of the pages, but perfectly readable, strong binding. Here's the author himself, John Morris. So about some time living in Tokyo. So that should be interesting. The Dark Invader by Captain von Rintelen. Some nice pink cerise color there. A little bit scuffed on the bottom, but again, these books are so old. It's amazing they're in one piece, really, right? This one's been reprinted many times. And this one, published in America. I see. It was also published in America. But this one seems to be the October 1939 edition. And this is number 60. So this is an early one. And I don't know what this might be about. I'm not quite sure what the story is with the plot of that one, but I shall find out. Jeffrey Gore, Africa Dances. We have a little, perhaps not politically correct drawing there, and a map of Africa. Ooh, this one is very, very, in a little rough shape. I need to be a little careful with this. It's got quite a few nice photos inside. But this one needs to be handled with care. It's got really thin paper. It might be another wartime penguin. $4.91. And Well, really thin paper. First published in Penguin Books, 1945. Yeah, so that makes sense. During the paper shortage, it's pretty thin. That looks very interesting. And the last one that I got in this batch, again, I'll probably have some more coming up in the future, depending on what Jules can find for extras and reprints. Escape to Switzerland. This seems to be another thin wartime one. G.R. de Beer, F.R.S. So again, this sounds like another World War II escaping a POW Camp 1. Very cool. Interesting. Got some musical notation there, etc. A little bit about the writer, the author. And it's a little dark and faded, but, you know, very readable. Just have to be a little careful with this one. This one is not new, right? Okay. This appears to be, this is Penguin 490. And the author wrote several other books, it looks like. First published 1945. So this seems to be a first Penguin edition, perhaps. So nice. Anyway, that's the 24 Travel and Adventure Cerise Penguins, that vintage penguins that I got from Jules. At least from what he's been able to go through so far. So real quick, I'll just wrap up with the freebies. He gave me some nice, readable copies of these vintage crime penguins. We have Death on Heron's Mere by Mary Fitt. Interesting looking woman on there. I've only recently heard about Mary Fitt, but the plot seemed intriguing from what I read about that. So that seems very cool. A body is found on a boat in a mere, a pond near a country estate, and then the Scotland Yard inspector investigates. We've got some Raymond Chandler, Lady in the Lake. Now, I have read this before in the past. It's an excellent Philip Marlowe novel. It's very cool to have a Philip Marlowe novel in my in a Penguin, and again, nice condition inside for sure. And there's Mr. Chandler with his pipe. Okay, The Judas Window by Carter Dickson. I did a John Dixon Carr and Carter Dickson, which was one of his pen names, shelf tour in the past. And this is one of his H.M. Merivale detective novels, and very cool. I don't have this one, so I'm glad to get that. Leo Bruce, Case for Three Detectives. I believe this is the first or one of the first Sergeant Beef mysteries, where there's three detectives maybe parroting Lord Peter Wimsey, Hercule Poirot, and Father Brown on this cruise. There's a murder on the cruise. The detectives try to solve it, but it's good old phlegmatic workaday Sergeant Beef who takes care of the actual solution and investigation at the end. So I've heard of this, but I've not read it. Quite famous one. Nicholas Blake, The Case of the Abominable Snowman. Now, this just means there's like a body and a snowman. There's not really a monster, sadly, but classic British mystery. I believe that's a Nigel Strangeways mystery. He's the detective in this. I got Death in Five Boxes, another Carter Dickson. H.M. Merivale, detective novel by John Dixon Carr, writing as Carter Dickson. This one's got a pretty rough spine, but again, this is free, so very glad to have it. That was very kind of Jules to throw that in there. And I've also reviewed a Napoleon Bonaparte, bony, Aboriginal or half Aboriginal, half white police detective inspector in Australia and investigating murders in the outback. Excellent series, and this is, I believe, the first one or one of the earlier ones. This is Murder Down Under, and there is Mr. Upfield on the back. So that one's also very cool to have because I don't have nearly as many bony mysteries as I would like. Okay, that's it. So that turned out to be 31 vintage penguins sent to me. So a pretty good size haul. Thank you so much, Jules. Really appreciate that. You're such a kind fellow and very organized. Wrapped these up very nicely, very safe. They arrived in good condition. Gave me a very nice deal. Again, I recommend anyone who wants to order some books from Jules, please contact him through his channel. And if you haven't subscribed or joined Jules' great channel, you should definitely check it out and do so. Thanks for spending a little time with me going through this unboxing. I'll hopefully have another one coming from Jules down the road, maybe later this year or early next. Enjoy your reading, whatever it is. And if you have any comments about these vintage penguins, or especially the travel and adventure penguins, if you've read any of these or know something about these, please let me know in the comments below. Thanks a bunch. I'll see you again next time.